So Freunde, wir reagieren heute auf ein ganz knackiges Video und zwar 15 Fehler, die nur Noobs in Fortnite machen. Also ich bin mega gespannt, ob wir auch dazugehören. Ich glaube nein. Das Ganze von Top 5 Gaming, let's go. Für die Leute, die nicht so gut Englisch können, ich bin da. Ich werde euch den Hasen erklären.
When making this video, if you're ever getting pushed and you want to fake out the person who's chasing you, just throw a decoy grenade on a launch pad and they'll think you've flown away. Check this out, watch what happens.
Oha, das ist ein heftiger Trick, Digga. Einfach diese Täuschgranate da in den Trampo rein sneaken und dann bam. Heftig.
If you were a noob, you probably would have just gotten beamed out of the sky. So today we're covering
Heftig.
15 mistakes only noobs make and some pro tips on how you could get better.
Ich muss schon zugeben, das war ein heftiger Trick direkt am Anfang.
Okay, so me and Sam, being the king of noobs, decided to switch up the way a tips and tricks video works, and it's kind of like the exact opposite, where we instead show where you noobs go wrong and how you could fix that. The upgrade trick. The upgrade benches around the map, especially now that they're items, are especially helpful to both casual and competitive players in Fortnite. These things can take you
Also es geht hier um Waffen-Upgrade, aber was ist jetzt der Trick?
from having unlucky loot to dominating the battleground in minutes, but there's a slight problem. They take forever to upgrade a gun.
Ah, okay, er will jetzt einen Trick zeigen, wie man es schneller macht.
Honestly, us noobs sometimes forget completely that you can upgrade your weapons in the first place. But for those of us that do remember, we spend all of our time trying to make a purple gun into a gold gun. It takes literally forever. By the time we're almost
Es dauert halt echt übertrieben lang, Digga.
done, we've usually been sniped and it's on to the next match.
Check out how a pro would do it. You throw down your upgrade bench, then whip out a gray weapon. Once you start upgrading the gray weapon, just quickly switch over to your purple gun at the very last second, and it just upgrades to gold instead.
Was? Was? Wenn du da so die Waffe wechselst, dann macht er direkt auf Gold den Hasen. Aber die Frage
Whip out a
ist,
gray weapon.
ey, das ist ein Bug, Digga, das ist ein Glitch. Weil er hat, nein. Guck mal, er hat 200 Materials, ne? Also er hat quasi das Gold-Upgrade sofort gemacht.
Gray weapon, just quickly switch over to your purple gun at the very last second, and it just upgrades to gold instead. It's a super useful trick that might just save your life if the storm is moving very fast.
Was? In Gottes Namen, funktioniert das? Also schreib mal bitte in den Kommentaren, funktioniert das? Das muss man doch mal probieren. Das war ja krank.
Trick. Launchpads could be the best thing that ever happened to you and
Ey, Digga. Ich bin gerade unter Schock, wenn das jetzt wirklich klappt, das ist krank.
also be your absolute doom. These things can save lives and also end them pretty quickly, which is why you need to learn how to master them.
Usually a casual player will just get shot at by a squad and panic. Then they'll throw their launch pad down and try to escape in the nick of time. But it never really works like that. Either they follow you or you just get absolutely beamed out of the sky.
Er zeigt ja bestimmt den Trick, den er auch am Anfang gezeigt hat, ne? Also mit dem...
Of course. So instead, while being chased by a squad, the pro will place down their launch pad as usual, but also pair it with another underrated item, the decoy grenade, obviously.
Okay, haben wir
You'll pick
gesehen.
up your teammate, was probably Shockwave launcher coming to Fortnite
Shockwave, also jetzt kommen wir zum Granaten-Launcher, dieser Shockwave-Launcher-Trick.
this season, was probably one of the best things Epic has done in ages. You gotta admit, it's one of the better additions in the entirety of Chapter 2. How good the Shockwave launcher is actually depends on who's using it, and this is where the noobs come in.
When we get our hands on a Shockwave launcher, all we do is launch ourselves all over the place and tend to just crash into trees or something else.
So benutzen die Noobs auf jeden Fall das Ding.
Sometimes we even somehow mess that up and find a way to take fall damage. It's just bad.
But that's not what a pro would do. Trust me when I say.
Und so machen es die Pros,
They use
oder?
a
Also Upgrade.
Shockwave grenade for way more stuff too, like throwing enemies out of the
Haben wir
final
im vorletzten Gameplay sogar gemacht.
circle for an easy victory,
Das kennt man aber hart davon.
or using the Shockwave to fling themselves onto an enemy's box for a guaranteed wall replacement. You do this by placing 3 tiles away from the enemy's box, shoot
Genau, du musst 3 Steps weitergehen, ne? Also 3, wie wisst ihr, Steps mäßig, 3 Ebenen. Und dann machst du eine Wand und kannst halt direkt in die Box von den Gegner reinsteppen und das ist halt
the
garantiert.
Shockwave at the
Guck mal.
wall, and you'll fly back, breaking and replacing their builds at the same time, resulting in an
krank.
easy elimination.
Das ist wirklich krank.
Avoiding Marauders trick.
Jetzt so wie du halt diese komischen Bots, kennst du diese, wie heißen die, Marodeuren, die haben voll die komischen Namen auch auf Deutsch, aber ihr kennt diese komischen Massenbots, Digga.
Okay, I think we
Hier,
can all
hier zeigt er, wie man den entkommt.
agree here, the Marauders always seem to pick the worst time to show up. You could be in like a super intense fight, and in case man-eating sharks weren't enough, these guys will just crack.
Marauders never give up, but they practically have aimbot. So when us noobs are facing them, we don't really stand a chance, especially if we don't.
Kannst du vergessen, so, jetzt erklär mal, was soll man machen?
Need to be prepared to fight off the Marauders, because here's something not a lot of people know about. Sure, the Marauders do act like real people with them building and dancing when no one's watching, but this also means they actually can't see when you
Ah, okay, einfach in den Busch
Go
reinsteppen.
into a bush. Try it. Simply hide in a bush and they'll leave you alone. Saves you the time and energy of dealing with them, especially in sticky situations.
Kann man machen, aber Freunde, wie wisst, Abbau-Idee, Digga, der chillt nicht im Busch. Also da muss ja wirklich was ganz Böses passieren, dass ich in einem Busch chill.
Like when you're on low health or out of ammo. The accurate grenade throwing trick.
Also Granaten werfen auf präzise Art und Weise.
If you got yourself a stack of grenades and hear an enemy or squad in the distance, it's pretty easy to get excited at the idea of wiping out an entire squad.
Blast one of them in the
So,
direction.
die Noobs schmeißen einfach irgendwie.
And this is where
Wie soll man's
the
machen?
pros come in. They'll use the ping button to see the exact distance between them and the enemies. Then they'll throw the grenade and time it perfectly so they all explode directly on impact, and they're super accurate. In fact, it was actually this trick that got grenades removed from Arena in the first place, but they're back now,
Krank.
so...
Also dieser Trick war so OP, ne? Du kannst halt dadurch halt direkt die perfekte Bahn, ne? Also du hast halt wirklich die perfekte X-Achse von den Granaten. Ja. Vielleicht gibst du einen Trick, dass wenn du so komplett weit oben schaust, dass es genau 60 Meter weit fliegt oder so. Ich weiß es nicht, aber krass.
Go crazy. The trick to doing this is to ping the enemies one by one and then go about 60 meters away.
Ja, 60 Meter. Oh, krasse Theorie von aller echt. Das stimmt ja wirklich.
Now, throw the grenades towards the top of your ping mark and they should explode on impact every single time with almost practically no error.
Krank.
The destroying Choppa's trick.
Ja, schon OP mit den Granaten. Das ist OP, Digga.
As you know, you can't redeploy your
Jetzt zeigt ein Trick, wie man halt die Helis direkt kaputt macht. Okay.
glider when jumping from a Choppa, so if you're not above water, that thing is a flying death
Aua.
trap. I mean, most people know this. Choppas are pretty much a huge target in the sky.
Usually, us noobs will just blind fire all of our ammo into a Choppa flying by, hoping to get some
Kennst du, das machen wir alle einfach draufballern. Ne?
damage or even a kill. Most of the time, though, we miss half the shots and won't even come close to bringing the Choppa down.
But pros actually know a trick to take down Choppas insanely fast without
Lol, wie oft trifft es denn da oben?
wasting all the ammo in the process. If you're good at aiming, shoot at the top and back propellers of the
Das zieht ja übelst viel Life ab.
helicopter and it will actually deal double damage. If the Choppa's already kind of
Wow.
low on health, you could deal double the
Aber das kennt man ja, ne?
Damage
Aber
and-
irgendwie, Digga, ich weiß nicht, ist trotzdem so schwieriger zu hitten.
save so much ammo. Trust me on it, this trick leads to a ton of free eliminations.
Aber an sich, ne, wenn man halt so normal schießt, so pack, ein gutes Aim hat, das geht wirklich.
The instant reload trick.
Direkt nachladen Trick.
Reloading
Okay?
in Fortnite has never really been that big of an issue, especially to casual players, but on the competitive side, even an extra second of reloading can spell disaster for you and your team.
And since reloading doesn't matter much, noobs will just take forever reloading every single one of their weapons after a fight is over.
Ich bin jetzt echt gespannt, wie man schneller nach.
Now that is a mistake that pros don't have time to make, so they use a new change that allows you to quickly drop your weapon and pick it back up to reload. Not gonna lie, it's much faster than reloading, and you can save a ton of time when moving across the map, especially if you're outrunning the storm.
Wusste ich nicht, dass das funktioniert, dass du eine Waffe droppst und dann nochmal neu aufhebst, dass die direkt wieder voll ist, aber interessant zu wissen eigentlich. Das ist schon, in einigen Fällen geht, das geht schnell.
One thing I would say though is just make sure this actually saves you time
Also auf dem Controller kannst du halt die erste Waffe richtig schnell wegdroppen.
and doesn't waste more. If you're not fast enough, it might not be worth. The fast farming trick. Veggies have been added all around the Fortnite map, and while sometimes they can
Schnell Farmtrick, okay?
feel useless, other times they can absolutely save you in a pinch. The consumption animation for veggies is less than a second, so they can be clutch in late game scrims or just when trying to outrun the storm.
Most of the time you see us noobs collecting veggies, we're breaking each and every cornfield one at a time, which
Ich schwör, das fühlt mich so angesprochen. Ja, genau das gleiche habe ich doch auch immer
ends
gemacht.
up taking way too long. It's not exactly efficient. I mean, we probably shouldn't be harvesting the cornfields anyway, but I mean, we're noobs. What do you expect? If you're taking that much time just collecting veggies, you won't really be set up for your next encounter during the match.
Wie macht man das jetzt schneller? Jetzt bin ich
Alright, check
gespannt.
this. Here's what a pro would do to make collecting veggies a breeze. Just grab the closest Choppa,
Ey, komm, das ist voll übertrieben. Obwohl, guck mal, ich habe es ja nur für eine Challenge gemacht. Ne? Da hat es auch keinen Sinn gemacht, dass man da direkt einen Chopper nimmt. Ne?
fly it right through one of the
Aber
corn
es geht natürlich ganz
fields.
easy.
It causes all of the corn to be farmed at once, leaving more than a full stack for you to just quickly pick up and go on your way. Fun fact, you can get 100 health from corn way faster than a med kit,
Oha, wie schnell kann man auf dem PC sammeln?
giving you some reliable heals for the rest of the game that you could just split up.
Lol.
The flare gun UAV trick. Flare guns are some of the best ways to take advantage of the new elemental fire damage that came
Die Waffe kennen wir ja, eine übelst heftige
with
Pistole.
Season 3. But, are you using them to their full potential?
Yeah, me and the other newbies usually would just shoot the flare gun at other players or builds and basically just set everything on fire around them. Watching things burn is very epic.
Er sagt so, ja, wie Noobs und so, weißt du, wir schießen einfach nur auf die Gegner oder auf die Buildings, Digga, einfach nur so, es brennt und das ist nice.
I mean, surely that's what the flare gun is for, right?
I mean, kinda.
Aber eigentlich muss man das halt wie ein Orbitalsatellit benutzen,
But there's
ne?
also a hidden feature on the
Eine Drohne.
gun that will activate if you shoot it directly into the sky. Pretty much, it's a UAV, lets you locate enemies and fight more tactically. Like I said, simple as shooting in the air, and you track all of your enemies for easy eliminations. I know it's not the most secret thing in the world, but in case you didn't know now, you do know now. The launch pad trick.
Launchpad-Trick, okay.
So I already talked about launch pads and how enemies chasing after you could be a huge problem. But if you don't have decoy grenades on you, then what?
Whenever a noob uses a launch pad, 99% of all noobs will just launch away and leave their launch pad ready for any other players to use, even.
Ich schwör, ja, das stimmt. Da gibt es halt eigentlich einen einfachen Trick, das wird er auch safe zeigen, aber ich mache das eigentlich in der Regel nie, weil ich will eigentlich, dass die Gegner mich verfolgen. Weil ich halt, also wenn ich ein Launchpad benutze, dann, also ein Jumppad, dann einfach nur, um mich kurz zu healen. Also meistens auch mal nicht voranzupushen, aber wenn ich mal so abhaue, dann kurz healen und dann will ich eigentlich direkt wieder weiter steppen so. Und der Vorteil ist halt, wenn die Gegner halt in der Luft sind, du kannst halt einfach weglasern so, ne? Aber hier zeigt er einen Trick, wenn es halt wirklich zu brenzlig ist und du willst halt einfach nur abhauen und dass die Gegner nicht schnell hinterhergehen. Jetzt kommt der Trick.
the team following them.
So how do you stop that? Well, most pros will build up, place the launch pad, and right before they jump onto it, they will edit the ramp to the side so that it breaks a millisecond after they use it. You've gotta perfect the timing on this one. But think about it, that's what separates a noob from a pro, am I wrong? The easy supply drop trick. Since the dawn of time, supply drops have only ever really been so worth it in Fortnite if
Jetzt kommt der. Jetzt bin ich
it
gespannt.
was
Was kommt
super
jetzt?
close to the ground or you really need it. If it's still got a little way to fall, that's when you've got a lot of problems.
Most of us will just sit there or just vibe party.
Ja, Noobs warten, bla bla, was machen die
That's why
Pros?
pros don't waste time and grab a nearby Choppa. Taking
Nice.
full advantage of the boost button, they'll ram the Choppa right into a supply drop balloon and make it fall to the ground instantly. It's easily the best way to both save ammo and time when going for a drop without it damaging your Choppa all that much. I think it's like 200.
Das ist nicht schlecht, wirklich nicht schlecht. Gut zu
The
wissen.
rotating on water trick.
Es sind wirklich so nice Tipps dabei, ohne Witz.
If you're swimming or making your way across some water in Season 3 and you find yourself
Few shots. Instead of being calm, they'll just spam builds everything, especially because, well done.
the next time you're in this
Was machen
situation,
die Pros? So.
just remember to simply build a single wall and place a floor below you. Right after, rotate or edit a ramp facing the direction of your enemy. It allows you to create a makeshift bridge to rotate with while saving a ton of mats. I mean, think about it. Technically speaking, you're not doing a floor and a wall, you're only doing one ramp. You'll need those mats for the actual fight.
Es ist interessant und cool, muss ich zugeben.
The landing faster trick. Battle Royale,
Schneller Landen-Trick.
especially with Fortnite's Battle Bus, has always had ways to get
The dawn of time has forever. Not even thinking about where they glide or how.
Locker, locker. Er würde so sagen, man muss halt einmal auf diese Seilbahn rauf und dann runter. Das manchmal ab und zu bei Pleasant Park.
They can land faster and took all of the loot.
every time a pro dive towards their location and find the nearest spot of water. Technically speaking, the water in any area of the map is actually the lowest possible point. So if you can skydive
Okay. Also er hat, ja, okay, so geht's auch. Das ist ein anderer Trick. Er sagt, du musst einfach den Spot suchen, wo Wasser ist, weil Wasser ist der tiefste Punkt. Und je tiefer der Spot ist, wo du halt deinen Fallschirm zücken willst, desto früher kommst du an. Ja.
for longer than others, then you'll always be the first to land. And if you want to be really fancy with your drop, you could also B-hop off those umbrellas, kind of like over at Sweaty Sands. You could get a major head start.
Aber
The weapon ping trick. When you're immediately landing at a POI, it's hard to tell where all the good loot is. I mean, the game is RNG, so you've got to
okay, jetzt sagt er, auf den Waffen markieren schon in der Luft.
hope
Oder
you
wie?
find a good spot. Or do you?
Most of us noobs usually just drop at a POI and try to spot something glowing and land on top of it.
Er sagt, die meisten Noobs landen einfach irgendwo und so, tralala. Er wird bestimmt jetzt sagen, dass sie Pros.
Typically, you could only see what
Alles
rarity an
markieren.
item is from a distance and not what the weapon actually is. So, pros will simply just ping the glowing guns while gliding in, and it lets them know what the weapon is. This gives them huge advantages early game,
Ja, das stimmt, das machen wirklich viele, ja.
since they'll usually find shotguns before everybody else. Flammable objects.
Okay.
Flare guns aren't the only thing bringing elemental fire damage to the game, as an off
Run right past them without even having a second thought. It's quite a waste because they're super dangerous and noobs just
Also er redet jetzt von den brennbaren Objekten. Was sagt er
don't
jetzt hier?
realize how great they can be.
It's true, pros are the ones who are always looking for the next gas pump or propane tank to shoot or use to their advantage. In fact, they will pair the propane tanks with crash pads or just shoot it for easy kills. Not
Ja, also ich sag mal so, wenn ein Typ neben einem Gasstation chillt, so neben so so einen Gastank, den knall ich natürlich auch ab, aber ganz selten, dass mal sowas passiert,
Not only
ne?
that, but you could also stock up chug splashes too, just in case you need to put out a fire quickly. I mean, think about it. Just because you're dealing the fire damage doesn't mean you don't have to watch out for it. Well, anyways, click on screen right now for the...
Ich muss sagen, aber der war ein sehr, sehr knackiges Video. Waren echt nice Tipps am Start, Freunde. Wenn ihr was Neues dazugelernt habt, dann lasst doch einfach mal ein Like da, Freunde. Und ich würde sagen, wir sehen uns das nächste Mal. Haut rein, der Allerechte und Tschüssi-Like.